2 more days until Halloween. I've really enjoyed telling these scary stories, but I did promise they would get scarier as time went on. Tomorrow night I'm going to be telling the final story, sure to chill your marrow. But tonight I thought I'd take just a baby step toward that. Tonight I'm going to tell a story about an old house that rested in the hills not far from where I grew up. Out in the forest there, deep inside, away from neighbors. The old Boggs house sits in a naked area there in the forest. It's dilapidated by now, nobody lives there. No one's lived there in many, many years. But there are a lot of legends that go on with the house. Old Mr. Boggs himself was a mystery. After he built the house, he lived there like a hermit for many years, hardly ever coming out into town. He never got married, never had children, just stayed there inside the house like a hermit. Eventually, as he got on in his years, he stopped leaving the house altogether. Many, many weeks went by before the neighbors realized that they probably should check on him. A few brave souls ventured into the house and searched. They found the old man hanging from one of the rafters in the upstairs. By then, his body had decomposed quite awfully. Mr. Boggs' ghost is said to inhabit the house to this day, walking the halls and peering out the window. But he's not the only one there. Not too many years after, a strange old woman moved into the house and took up residence. She, like Mr. Boggs before her, also hardly ever came out of the house, and when she did, she acted very strange, scurrying off into the forest, coming back, hurrying into the house, usually with an animal or a clump of plants. All sorts of strange noises came from the house. At night, people could see weird lights coming from the windows. So they believed that she was practicing black magic behind those walls. Until one night, in a horrifying climax, the old woman's screams burst out into the night, coming from the house. People down the road could hear her screams, but they were too afraid to check it out to see what happened. The next morning, the sheriff was called in and he investigated the house. He never found the old woman, but in one of the upstairs rooms he did find burn marks on the walls, a small pot in the middle of the room, all sorts of paraphernalia laying around, but the strangest thing was a big pile of ashes sitting next to the pot, all that was left of the old woman. Townspeople believe that that night she unleashed some sort of horrible, wicked spirit that still inhabits that house. There's also the rumor of a murder that happened there, and supposedly the ghost of the murdered victim or their murderer walks the halls in that house. But the most recent story is that of a escaped mental patient that had fled the state hospital. He had last been seen in that area running through the woods. When the police were called in, they searched high and low, but they never found him. Many people there believe he still hides inside that house. A few brave souls have ventured out there to try to check it out, but they never stay around long. But the most famous story is that of Chris and Lisa, 2 college kids who came from town to try to spend the night in Boggs' house. On a dare, or so it's been said. When they went to the house that night, the sun was already going down and clouds were gathering in the sky above. Thunder clapped in the distance, so Chris and Lisa knew they better get in the house quickly and not waste any time exploring outside before the rain started. They managed to get in the door with great ease. It was never locked. No one would ever go in there. They made it inside and shut the door behind them and started exploring downstairs. There were sheets all over the furniture and dust covering everything. but the dust looked eerily disturbed, as if there were footprints going across the floor. Lisa looked at Chris, but he shrugged his shoulders and said, "That's probably mice or squirrels." Well, they ventured on further into the house, and after a few moments they heard the creaking of the boards upstairs. What sounded like footsteps fell across the floor above them. Lisa shuddered and turned to Chris. "Okay, I've seen enough. I think maybe we ought to get back out of here. I don't think it's a good idea to stay here." She turned and hurried toward the door, but before she opened it, she looked out the window. Night had already fallen outside and it was dark. Lightning had started flashing, but out in the yard there in the waist-high grass, when the lightning flashed, Lisa could make out a tall form standing out there, looking at the house. When the lightning flashed again, the figure had ventured closer to the house, still staring as if he was looking in the window at them. Chris had joined Lisa at the window and was looking out in awe as well. But when the lightning flashed a third time, the figure had completely vanished. Lisa turned to Chris. "Okay, on second thought, we'd probably be safer staying here in the house, because if we go out there, whatever's in that grass is probably going to get us." So they decided to stay the night in the house. There were a couple of rocking chairs in the front room there, so Chris pulled them together, and he sat down in one, and he invited Lisa to come join him, so she sat right next to him, and they both rocked back and forth and tried to relax. Eventually, as the night went on, they sat there listening to the sounds of the house, and occasionally they thought they heard some sort of rustling or footsteps upstairs, but constantly Chris would just put it off. Once again, he would say, "Probably mice or just squirrels." Lisa wasn't buying that anymore. Chris took her by the hand and held on to it and assured her and said, "Look, I'm going to be here right next to you all night. It's going to be okay." So Lisa eventually relaxed enough to fall into sleep. She dozed and slept for a while. Every once in a while she would awake and she would feel Chris squeezing her hand, so she knew it was okay. Every once in a while he gave her that gentle, assuring squeeze of her hand. Eventually she drifted off to sleep again and slept for who knows how long. When she awoke, it wasn't quite dawn yet and the room was pitch black. She could still feel Chris holding her hand, so she knew he was still there and everything was okay. She even heard the rhythmic rocking of his chair. But still, something wasn't quite right. After a few moments, Lisa, sitting there in the darkness, realized that there was something strange. Chris had not squeezed her hand for quite some time. Maybe he was asleep too, but then again she could still hear the rhythmic rocking of his chair. Lisa was too afraid to switch on her flashlight or check it out, so she just sat there in the silence, listening to the rhythmic rocking. Eventually a ribbon of light spilled through the window as dawn approached. The light crept further into the room until it revealed there at the rocking chairs what had happened. Oh, Lisa was still holding Chris's hand, but only his hand. The rest of Chris, what was left of his body, was slung over a beam overhead near the ceiling. Blood dripped down onto the floor below. Lisa opened her mouth but couldn't make a sound, couldn't scream. And she realized she could still hear the rhythmic rocking, only it was coming from across the room. She let her eyes wander to the other side of the room where the rocking came from, and there she saw, sitting in a chair across the room, a large, hulking, wild-looking man wearing rags, glaring at her. And in his hand he held an enormous, bloody knife. Nighty night.